Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good evening. It is the Earthmaster back here on this Wednesday night. It is June 21st, 2023. About 11:06 p.m. here along the West Coast. The latest quake shows a 2.6 here into northern Alaska, it looks like. Latest quake there on the globe. Did have some activity ramping up here around the Black Sea area, just south of Ukraine earlier today. Find this kind of odd because we don't see too much earthquake activity ramping up out there. I did pull up here. Let's see which one is it. One of these windows. There we go. I got so many pulled up, but that's okay. I wanted to see historical data out here, specifically around the Black Sea. And it does look like there's been historical earthquake activity out here in the 4 and 5 range in the past. Quite a few upper 5s, even some 6s going on out there. Looks like the largest, though, in this mix was a 6.7 back in 1927. Coming up on about 100 years or so since that larger earthquake. So activity does appear to be, on occasion active in that area of the world. All right, there's the earthquake up in the Alaska region, northern Alaska. 2.6. That's it, just northern Alaska. Looks like about 20 kilometers deep here. Outside the Arctic Circle, a little bit of movement across the Aleutian Trench today. It looks a little bit active here across this area. We did see a 4.3 coming in earlier this afternoon, I should say. 182 kilometers deep. It looks as though that may have triggered some shallower earthquake activity here. You can see these sequence of earthquakes all along the Aleutian Trench, indicating some adjustment accordingly here. Throughout the Pacific Northwest, relatively normal conditions, right? Not a whole lot of activity. Did see a 2.5 near the Portland area, Vancouver area. This region did see a little bit of activity here within the last week. I know we had a little smaller quake here, a couple smaller quakes it looks like over the last couple days within this area around Vancouver, Washington area. Things kind of picking up out there. Across the rest of Oregon, pretty quiet, except for this one little oddball earthquake out here. Brogan, Oregon. Never heard of it. Out around the Cottonwood Mountains, of course, there's fault systems out here. 1.7, a little small microquake out in eastern Oregon. Here into Northern California, a little activity across the Clear Lake volcanic field, of course, around the Cobb Mountain region. And some activity north of Lake Tahoe again. Although this is a little bit south in our typical swarming area, this movement just north of Kings Beach, 1.6 and a 1.4, the latest 1.4 in this area. Eastern edge here of the Sierra Nevada mountains. A little bit of activity out here south of Santa Maria as well, 2.1. Los Alamos area, looks like 1.8 kilometers below the surface. That was early this morning, about midnight or so. Rest of Southern California, very spotty, but most of the movement here, microquake activity. Got one earthquake out here along the San Clemente fault zone. That was a 2.3 earlier this afternoon. West Coast movement. Well, no major uptick, but, looks like a typical day out there. Outside of Salt Lake City, Utah, a couple smaller earthquakes coming in, including a 2.5 early this morning near the Great Salt Lake area. Yellowstone National Park not showing a whole lot of activity, but we will jump into the Yellowstone overview and just give a quick glance here, double check. Not saying I don't believe the USGS, but I just want to make sure. Little small earthquake activity here over the last couple hours. Very small microquakes, probably well below 1.0, occurring around the northwest corner there of Yellowstone National Park. I got so many windows open here. But that's good. Like to keep the ports all over the place. Up here around the Montana and the Canadian border, a 2.2 coming in early this morning. Way up there. Of course, this is the Rocky Mountain area. Does see some earthquake activity on occasion. Rest of the area, Southern Plains, Texas, all very small microquake activity. Looking at the big picture out here, got one earthquake here into the Turkey region, a 4.0 coming in. I've been noticing quite a bit of deeper activity out here across the region of this section of the globe. Although it looks like today most of the movement here very shallow activity. But over the last week or so, we've seen deeper movement quakes along and off of the plate boundary, indicating some adjustment going on here in this portion of the world. There's some major plates out here, right? Obviously, there's quite a bit of movement going on, stirring up below the surface, indicated there by some surface earthquake activity. With that 4.6 there off the coast of Ukraine. Movement around Turkey has been somewhat elevated here today, as you can see on the big scale of things, and generally across the plate boundary here of the Mediterranean. Quite a few twos kicking off there. Across the Atlantic, some older movement quakes there from this morning. Chile area and the Peru region looks like a pretty deep 4.7 coming in earlier this evening. Looks like that earthquake 150 kilometers deep, pretty deep earthquake activity there across the region. And around the Caribbean plate, that's going to be this section right down here. Still seeing some activity somewhat on the elevated side. The USGS not showing anything that's picking up here across the Haiti area. Been watching some movement here over the last 24 hours around Haiti. Latest quake shows a 3.2 into that area. Middle America Trench pretty quiet for now. 4.4, what do we got going on over here? A little bit of rocking and rolling going on here across the Japan area. Although you wouldn't think so, right? Things look fairly calm according to the USGS, but big scale here on the EMSC model globe. Looks like a 4.4 coming in somewhere in the mix just off the coast of Taiwan, it looks like. We did see a 5.1. The USGS is reporting that there in Japan, a little bit further up along the northwestern corner here of the Filipino plate. But it looks like things are starting to kick back up here in the last hour with that 4.4 coming in to the area. Down here into the Indonesia area. Looks like some 3s and 4s kicking off there. A little bit of activity up into the Andaman Sea area off the coast of Myanmar area earlier. The Java Trench, though, for the most part, the center portion here remains quiet for now. New Zealand, what's going on here across New Zealand area? Fairly quiet down there, it looks like, according to the globe. But we are seeing some deeper movement quakes and a return of some surface earthquake activity here across the Tonga region. This bend here has been showing quite a bit of movement over the last week or so. Still seeing that activity kicking up there into the Tonga Ridge, the latest of 5.0. See a little bit of movement here at the surface levels or across the Kermadec Trench. Let's go ahead and check out the GeoNet servers here real quick. From that was the wrong one. GeoNet servers, there we go. 2.5 looks like. 6 hours ago, 2.7. 8 hours ago, 3.1. 10 hours ago. So it looks like maybe a little bit of uptick here across the North Island, New Zealand area. I guess we're going to see that on the scale here, on the earthquake drums here. Although, goodness, I would say those are a little bit smaller than 3-pointers. Those are barely showing up across any of the North Island stations here. Those look like more or less upper 2s in my at least in my study. I don't really see any 3s in there, but I don't know. That's what the GeoNet servers are coming up with as far as the numbers go. Really only showed up here prominent across, I don't know. I got to look really hard for this one. Maybe this station right here? That doesn't really look like a 3-pointer. All right, either way, activity I would say is continuing to stay quiet across New Zealand for now. Let's see here. The Big Island. This has been kind of interesting here because we've been watching the volcano eruption there across Kilauea Volcano come to a pause. Let's go ahead and check out the latest informational statement here from the USGS HVO. It's going to be the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory. Latest update here put out already on the 21st. Hopefully it would be. Let's go ahead and pull that up. Summit eruption of Kilauea Volcano is currently paused following a rapid decline in vent and lava lake activity Monday afternoon. All recent eruptive activity has been confined to the crater. So summit tilt meters continue to show gradual inflation. Well, let's go ahead and check it out ourselves here. Let's go ahead and check out the tilt meters across the area. And by the way, anyone and everyone can check out this publicly accessible information here from the usgs.gov. Pretty useful information when it works, right? But a lot of times this stuff isn't working. But it's all available to the public. It's all obviously taxpayer funded, so we better have access to it, right? Here's the tilt meter. I like to use the station UWE. This does show a couple different areas here. This is the last 2 days since the eruptive activity halted there on Monday, according to the USGS. So we're still showing a gradual inflationary tilt here, although we're leveling out over the past few hours. So I still think things are kind of building underneath the surface areas, not to produce an eruption, or as far as like a explosive eruption, but things are coming to a little halt below the surface due to, I don't know, maybe blockage. Who knows? Maybe the volume of magma down there. As far as earthquake activity goes here across the summit region, we're going to pick one of these, and I hope they work. Some of these are working. 12 hours of earthquake activity. I still see harmonic tremor, volcanic movement going on below. That's exactly what we're seeing up here. There's no earthquake activity, large-scale earthquake movement, but there's definitely that signal of volcanic activity with the magma movement below. So continue to watch the Kilauea Volcano area. It could come into a little phase here of pausing and erupting. It could continue like that here for the next couple months or so. We'll definitely keep an eye on the charts and the numbers and see how it plays out. Space weather activity. We've got a little bit of flaring going on currently. Notice the D-layer absorption map showing some flaring taking place on the sunlit side of the Earth. And it looks as though it's coming off of this massive area on the northeastern limb of the sun. We don't really have a good glimpse of it right now, but it's shooting off some beautiful magnetic field lines up here. That's a good one. If it's producing some, maybe also some activity over here, it looks like maybe a sea flare from this region. But this area has me of interest there with those beautiful arms stretching out there on the northeastern limb of the sun. Let's see what we got here. We don't have a glimpse of it yet, just barely. Maybe tomorrow morning we'll see a little bit better glimpse of the magnetic structure. Right now we're left with a couple sunspots here, numerous sunspots. I can say this visible disk here is very busy in terms of sunspot numbers, but do they harbor any potential for some major flaring? I still think this area down here on the southeastern limb of the sun, this area, and looks like maybe this region up here, the one that's producing that current small flare, is growing in the sunspot complexity areas as well. So we'll watch these. I think maybe down here as well. It looks like things are starting to amplify here across numerous sunspots. So that's good. Looks like 99% chance for a C flare, M flare at 40. X flare remains, well, they lowered it down to about 10%. It was 20, but down to about 10% chance or so, with a proton event around 5% chance. Beta gamma class is going to be 30-40, it looks like. 30-40 is going to be up here. That's going to be at least somewhat complex, but I'm seeing others that harbor some interesting development. So that's just what's being reported here from the Solar Ham site. We'll definitely continue to watch this and monitor the activity as it evolves. A little slight uptick here across the auroras tonight. Not for sure exactly where that's coming from. Who knows? Nothing big going on. Just a little bit of elevated conditions there across the higher latitudes. But no major storming expected. Storm Prediction Center seen some severe weather striking out there into Texas tonight. This is the current threat for severe weather, stretching across a good portion of the Texas area. Tomorrow, looks as though things may be in the same area with a slight lowered risk across the areas of Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, into South Dakota as well. A very nice, thin, sharp line. I'm guessing that's going to be a dry line setup. Either way, a little bit of 2% chance of tornado probability out there as well. But I think the main thing is going to be some large damaging hail. I seen on radar earlier the model showing estimated 4-inch diameter hail out there across portions of Texas. That is crazy. And that was around Abilene. It looks like it's blown through Abilene. Let's see if we can go back an hour or so. But yeah, look at that. That storm just blew right through Abilene, producing obviously quite a bit of a lightning show, keeping folks up out there. That is, this whole massive cluster is weakening, but it's still somewhat holding together, heading down to the, looks like the Cross Plains area, Brownwood, Brady area. I was just out there last month. Looks like they're fine. Well, they always seem to get missed. I don't know why. I was talking to a few local folks out there, but it seems to miss this area of Brady, and I'm not for sure. I've been out there, though, years past and seen quite a bit of thunderstorm activity. But this one here is a massive, ginormous sunspot, but thunderstorm out there. Beautiful. A lot of lightning, a lot of hail, a lot of heavy rainfall. It's all coming towards the Cross Plains area. It looks like Coleman area, Brownwood. Yeah, so just a heads up. Nice noisy night for you folks out there. A little bit of movement up into the Colorado area as well, outside Denver, Colorado Springs. It's that time of year, though, right? A lot of potential for moisture, and all that's extending way up into North Dakota, into Canada as well. Far as the models go for any type of hurricane development, we're going to check out the western, the Gulf Coast, or the Gulf of Mexico area. See what we got. We've got a little tropical development building down here, but I think that's going to stay well south. I don't see that venturing into the Gulf. That's what I'm more concerned about. There is an area off way out here in the Atlantic that's going to get stirred up into the upper level winds and get redirected off of the East Coast area. But far as any hurricane entering into the Gulf of Mexico area, I don't see any tropical development. Just your typical thunderstorms that are occurring down here. Maybe some monsoonal moisture scooting up. But that's probably good news, right? Don't need any major damaging hurricanes out there. Keep those at bay. Alrighty, what else do we have here, folks? Anything spectacular going on? There's a little tropical development out there. That's going to be, I don't know which one that is, but Atlantic Tropical Storm Brett. Interesting. It's a tropical storm, but I believe that's the one that's going to stay well south of the area. No major buoys. Well, we got one buoy off here off the coast of Australia. Not for sure what that's about. Very minor adjustment. Anything can trigger these. It could be a bird landing on it. It could be a boat driving by. You just never know. So sometimes these things just pop up with a very slight microscope adjustment there on the water column height. That's it. Look at that. These are meters over here. Look at the micro scale. I mean, I'm surprised that these things go into event mode so easily, but they do. All right, folks, I'm going to jump off here. Have a good night. Stay safe out there. I think that's about it. Tomorrow's Thursday. Not really doing too much tomorrow. Thursday's just Thursday. Friday's Friday. So that's got one more day in this Friday already. That's cool. We'll catch you guys back out here tomorrow morning unless something major happens overnight. Stay safe, everyone. Have a good night.